Hola clase, bienvenidos. Hoy vamos a hablar sobre el pretérito y unos cambios que ocurren en el pretérito. Okay, so for today's topic, we're going to go back and review the preterite tense and then learn a couple of spelling changes that occur in the preterite tense. Okay, for the preterite, remember, first semester, we learned how to conjugate AR and ER-IR preterite verbs. We had that catchy song that went, AR preterite is A, aste o almorzaron, ER-IR forms are E, iste yo hicieron. Okay, so with today's verbs and today's rules, we're still going to use these endings. We're just going to learn a couple spelling changes that are going to occur in other parts of certain verbs. Okay, the first type of verb that we're going to talk about are verbs that end in CAR, GAR, or ZAR. I like to call these car, gar, zar verbs. Okay, if you go to conjugate a verb that ends in CAR in the preterite, you're going to have to be aware that this verb has a spelling change. This spelling change will occur in the yo form only, and that change will occur to keep correct pronunciation. Okay, so on your note guide, I want you to write down these spelling changes, and then we'll look at some verbs conjugated. Okay, so if you have a verb that ends in CAR, your C is going to change to a QU in the yo form. Okay, so that will look like yo toqué. If you don't make that spelling change, for example, if you left that as TOCE, you have then just spelled tose. Okay, so you have to make this spelling change to keep correct pronunciation. When you have a verb that ends in GAR, your G will change to a GU, again in the yo form only. The yo form, I paid, would look like this, yo pagué. When you have a verb that ends in ZAR, your Z will change to a C. Okay, to say I started, it will look like yo empecé. Okay, on your note guide, you've got some verbs to conjugate. Let's look at chocar. Chocar is a CAR verb. You know you're going to have to change your C to a QU in the yo form. Its conjugation will look like this. Toqué, tocaste, tocó, tocamos, tocaron. Okay, you're welcome to write down the vosotros here, but you don't have to. That's just there for curious minds. Okay, what you'll notice about this conjugation, again, that spelling change only occurred in the yo form. The rest of the conjugations don't have that spelling change. And you'll also notice chocar is an AR verb. It has normal AR endings. Okay, A, aste, o, almorzaron. Let's look at pagar. Pagar means to pay. Again, it's a GAR verb. So in the yo form, your G is going to change to GU. The conjugation looks like this. Pagué, pagaste, pagó, pagamos, pagaron. Lastly, we're going to look at cruzar. Cruzar means to cross, as in to cross the street. It's a ZAR verb. So in the yo form, your Z is going to change to C. Its conjugation looks like this. Crucé, cruzaste, cruzó, cruzamos, cruzaron. Okay, so here you have some practice questions. You'll notice all 6 of these are car, gar, zar verbs. So wherever you see a yo form, make sure you make the appropriate spelling change. Okay, please pause me so you can complete these practice problems. Okay, let's check our answers. I arrived late. Yo llegué tarde. Notice I made that spelling change, G-U-E. Without that spelling change, I have just spelled yeje. We don't want yeje. Number 2, we ate lunch yesterday. Nosotros almorzamos ayer. No spelling change because we're not in the yo form. Number 3, you played golf this morning. ¿Tú jugaste golf esta mañana? No spelling change because we're not in the yo form. Number 4, yo saqué 2 libros. I checked out 2 books. Make sure you made your spelling change. Number 5, Juan empezó temprano. He started early. No spelling change there because you're not in the yo. And then lastly, I crossed the street. Yo crucé la calle. Making sure to change your Z to C. Okay? We have one more spelling change that occurs in the preterite tense. The next concept we're going to talk about is verbs that occasionally will have to change the I to a Y. Now, you did this first semester with the present progressive tense. For example, when you were saying, I am reading, you said, estoy leyendo. With leyendo, to avoid that triphthong, you changed your I to Y. It is a similar concept here. Okay, let's look at leer, for example. Leer means to read. If you didn't know any better, you would conjugate leer like this. Leí, leíste, leyó, leímos, leyeron. But look at where these red circles are, crossed out. That is wrong. The reason that is wrong is because you have 3 vowels in a row. E-I-O here, E-I-E here. We want to avoid that triphthong. And to avoid that triphthong, we're going to change the I to a Y. Okay? So, here's your rule. To avoid a triphthong in the preterite tense, in the soul, okay, which remember we talked about the soul when we did stem changes in the preterite. The soul, you'll have to pay attention to where you need to change I to Y. Again, you're changing that I to Y to avoid a triphthong. There's what the correct conjugation of leer would look like. Please write that down on your note guide. Leí, leíste, leyó, leímos, leyeron. Okay? Verbs that have a Y in the soul, please write down their English meanings on your note guide. Leer means to read, we know that. Caerse, to fall down. Creer, to believe. Incluir, to include. And construir, to build or to construct. Okay, so all 5 of these verbs you're responsible for knowing for this unit. When you see any of these 5 verbs conjugated in the preterite tense, if they are in the soul, okay, in the he, she, or the they form, the soul, you're going to have to avoid the triphthong by changing the I to a Y. You'll also notice I made you a note here. These 3 verbs at the top, they get an accent in all forms except in the they form. Okay, and that's just to keep pronunciation. Okay, let's do some practice problems. Please pause me so you can work through these. Again, don't forget, if you get down into the he, she, or the they form, like in number 2 and number 4, watch out for triphthongs. Change your I to Y. Okay, please pause me. All right, let's review. Number 1, I included all the information. Yo incluí. Number 2, they constructed a house. Construyeron la casa. Did you change your I to Y? You should have. You want to avoid that triphthong. Number 3, we read a book yesterday. Nosotros leímos un libro ayer. Notice I did pick up an accent. Like I told you on the previous slide, that's just to keep correct pronunciation. Number 4, she didn't believe anything. Ella no creyó nada. You should have changed your I to Y here to avoid that triphthong. And lastly, number 5, you fell down and broke your ankle. Te caíste. Again, picking up an accent to preserve pronunciation. Okay. If you have any questions or comments, please write them down on your note guide. We will review this again in class. Gracias. Adiós.